All right, everybody, welcome to Studio B. I am your host, Pastor MDH. Thank you so very much for joining us here on the set again. Remember, wherever you're watching us from, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever it may be, like, follow, and subscribe. Share this so that you will never miss anything going on the set of Studio B. Today on the set of Studio B, I have a very, very special guest that I'm sure you guys are going to find great enjoyment of her testimony and where she is in life, and through God's grace, by the way.
Absolutely.
Miss Duana Gillard.
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Gillard, but
Gillard.
We'll go Gillard, yeah.
All right. Miss Duana, let me first start off by saying thank you for coming on the set of Studio B.
Pleasure.
Your story, I recently found out about your story, I guess, about 3 weeks ago when you came up to talk to Pastor August. Mm-hmm. And then I had a little sidebar with Sandra Sherrod upstairs and really began to learn a little bit more about your story. So I asked her to reach out to you so that you can come on to the set because I believe people need to hear of this wonderful story. So thank you for coming on the set of Studio B. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I am 30 years old. I am a native of New Orleans. I moved to Houston for Hurricane Katrina. It wasn't my first time being here. We used to come during the summertime with our grandparents. But for Katrina, when we came, it was a permanent thing. So we moved back home after I graduated college. I attended Lamar University freshman year, transferred over to U of H, and graduated from there with a degree in biology. After college, I moved back home and fell into the hotel industry, completely different from the career path that I thought I was going to go down. Moved back to Houston due to work within the hotel industry in 2014 and been here permanently ever since.
So now let's break that down. So you came from New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina.
Yes.
I'm assuming you lost everything.
Yes.
Now, are there any family members still back in New Orleans right now? And so when you came down, what kept you here?
Well, one, I didn't have anything to go back to. So, and then at that time when Katrina happened, I was 15. So, I just finished school, and I didn't want to be here. I used to love coming here during the summer, but for Katrina, it was like, I was forced to be here, so I didn't want to be here. So I was kind of depressed at a very young age. So it drove me to do school year-round. So while I was doing school year-round, I graduated high school. I was 16. So when I started at Lamar, I was most definitely the youngest.
You graduated high school at 16?
At 16, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I went to Girls and Boys Prep, which was not too far from here, like on West Belford, I think it was. Started Lamar 2007. And I was the youngest on campus, and it was one of those things where my mom just kind of like, go. She pushed me to go, and it was like, oh, I can't wait to get to college. I can't wait to get out of the house, and maybe I'll be more happy. But then the day came, and I was like boo-hooing, crying for mommy. So she ended up having to spend the night in my dorm. And then when I woke up the next morning, she was gone. She left me some of the money on the desk, and I found my way to a mall. After that, I met a couple friends, and I was fine. It took me about a good 3 days to get adjusted on campus. So yeah, after college and experiencing different people, I started realizing that Katrina was actually a blessing in disguise for me. So a lot of people don't get it because I feel like a lot of people are still kind of stuck in the mindset of they lost everything instead of working to gain better than what you lost. So, for me, Katrina pushed me out into the world right when I needed to. I don't want to say faster than I needed to, right when I needed to, because I think had it not happened, I would have most probably been still local to New Orleans. Now, I want to go home during festivals. I want to visit, and I want to get up out of there. So and when I was in college, my friends back home, they weren't into traveling. They weren't into experiencing new things. And honestly, I wasn't either before Katrina. Again, I was young, but I was also young in Houston, but I met other people from, other parts of the world that, were blessings to me, whether we still speak or not, that I was able to explore with. So I met this girl on campus, and we clicked. We didn't know each other that well, and we just randomly took a trip to LA one weekend, and we had the most amazing time. And both of our moms was like, "You don't know that girl," like they were saying that about each other. But we still friends to this day, and we would like go to Europe. We would experience a whole like a plethora of things together. But like once I started traveling the world, it was just like eye opening for me. Like there's so much more to see.
Now, Ms. Duana, you're touching my heartstrings with traveling, because I believe that's one of the ways that you get exposure.
Yeah.
And especially right now in this current culture that we're in, I believe that people are so isolated because all they can see is their zip code.
Yeah.
But your testimony about coming from New Orleans during Katrina is a very frequent testimony, because I know a lot of people that came from New Orleans during that time, and they have since settled their roots here in Houston, and they often say the same thing, that had it not been for Katrina, they would have never left New Orleans. Yeah. They would have never been in the places that they've been. Most of them, a lot of them, not most, have met their spouses and have really established some deep roots here. So what the devil meant for evil, Genesis 50:20, God turned out for your good.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, so now you go into Lamar, then you transfer over to U of H, and your major is biology. So tell me a little bit about that.
So the reason of me leaving Lamar is they canceled the biology program after my freshman year. So freshman year I had to do like general studies, and then sophomore year I was going to go into, the nitty gritty of, what I was majoring in. And when they canceled it, it was like, okay, it's no use for me being here anymore. So left, went to U of H, or transferred to U of H. And, Beaumont and Houston are very different. Beaumont is...
It's a big difference.
So,
a
lot of my friends now, that I met at U of H, none of us are working within our fields. But like, for me, I wanted to be the first doctor in my family. For my mom and dad, it was cool to say, oh, my daughter is going to school to be a doctor, And then I was so young. So it was something that my entire family bragged about, not realizing that was putting a lot of pressure on me. So it forced me, in the kind of person that I am going to push myself till there's no end. I was like 16, and I'm like, or really 15. I was like, if I don't learn how to drive now, I'll never learn how to drive. And it was more of like, you need to do this. You need to, and my mom will let my brother drive. So he would say, oh, come and ride with me to the store. But he was really teaching me how to drive. And so, so like, when my family was just like, oh yeah, Duana's going to school to be a doctor. She's graduating such and such. She go to med school here, and she's going to Baylor. And I'm just like, I don't even want to do this anymore. But I was pushing myself to do it. And it was important for me to have a degree. That was inevitable. I was going to do that. But to continue on into med school for 8 more years, because if I did be a doctor, I wanted to for sure do vascular surgery. In particular, that with my mom had a history of blood clots. And right before I graduated high school, one of the blood clots traveled, and then a piece of it hit her main artery. Well, she could have died, but because she had varicose veins, the blood clot that was traveling couldn't pass. So it was rubbing against the varicose vein, and that's what was able to stop it. What made her go to the hospital, because it was in so much pain to where she couldn't walk. So it was a vascular surgeon that saved her life. Wow. So that part, it was like, it was touching for me. And so, when I was looking at him, I was like, oh yeah, like, I don't see any black women. I don't even see any black people in this hospital. We were at Methodist. And I'm going to come and I'm going to do this and I'm going to make the change. And at that time, it was good for me. It was amazing. But by the time I graduated college and was going into med school, like I said, I had experienced so many different things in college with traveling, and it opened my eyes to do more once I stepped in the building to do clinicals, it just seemed so gloomy to me. It was just gloomy. And it was the same feeling that I got when I was forced to be in Houston for Katrina. So I'm like, nah, I started getting headaches. I was taking Advil every day to not have a headache so that I can study, so that I could perform properly. And I just was not happy. It was gloomy for me. It was so gloomy. So 2010, I graduated college 2010. 2010, November of 2010, I went home because my mom took sick again. I was supposed to be in New Orleans for 2 weeks. That was also my excuse to not go back to med school. My excuse to my parents, because they really wasn't trying to hear I'm not going to finish. But when my mom took sick, I was supposed to be in New Orleans for 2 weeks and come back to Houston. I ended up being in New Orleans for 3.5 years.
Wow.
And in that time, we went to the French Quarter, and I walked in this hotel to use the restroom. And the front desk manager, his name was Eric Miller. And he was like, "Are you looking for a job?" And I was like, "No." He was like, "Well, why not?" He was like, are you a millionaire? And I was like, "No." He was like, "Well, why are you not looking for a job?" And I was like, "Well, I live in Houston." He was like, "Oh, okay, when you go back to Houston?" I was like, "Well, I'm not too sure yet. My mom took sick, so I'm here, caring for her." And he was like, "Well, come try it out." And I was like, "No." And he was like, "You'll love it. Come try it out. Come try it out."
And this is just a random walking into the hotel.
I walked to the front desk to use the restroom, but in New Orleans, it was during Bayou Classic time.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
So it was so many people, and then the restrooms in that hotel is upstairs. So just me even asking, where's the restroom? It was kind of like, hey, you need to work. But I also noticed on that front desk line, it was a line of just beautiful black women on that front desk line. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't need a job or whatever. So once my mom, she had started going into a state of depression, and I couldn't leave. It was really hard for me to watch my mom like that, because I feel, one, I don't want to say we're codependent on each other, but we're extremely close. And I ended up staying. I went back to the hotel, and I was like, I'll apply, but I don't know how long I'll be able to stay. It was like an open-ended thing. So I started working at that front desk. He threw me on. I had never worked in the front desk of a hotel. I didn't have any experience with that. I think my jobs before that, I was working in retail, like Forever 21 and Abercrombie and Fitch, things like that. But he put me on Bayou Classic weekend, like that same weekend, put me on, and I was at that front desk, and I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed the people that I was working with. I'm still friends with them to this day, and it was such a good time. But I knew I'm not gonna be able to I like to do things, I'm not gonna be able to work at the front desk, forever. But in that time, I had an amazing time. 6 months. We got to 6 months working at the front desk. There's my mentor now. She came down. She was the director of catering and conference services. Her name was Joan Richard Smith. And she walked down, and she was one of these people that had a really strong personality. So everyone assumed that she was this Cruella, but she had the heart of gold. And she pulled me for the front desk, and she was like, "My assistant is leaving. I want you to apply." So I was like, okay, I was all for it. And then the director of sales and marketing came down. Their assistant was leaving. He was like, "Oh, you should apply." So I applied for both. Keep your options open. And both of them offered me the job. So I had to pick which department I wanted to go to, and I went with Miss Joan, and who's now my mentor. And I really grew in the hotel industry extremely fast. And once I got to the back end of the hotel industry is where I fell in love with the hotel industry, because it was so much going on behind the scenes, and it was so much more opportunity for me to get into. And I'm like, oh, okay, I like this. Like, I love to dress up and put my heels on and go to work in the office. I was off on weekends and I worked from 9 to 5. And, they put me like on this little small salary, which I thought was so much at that time. But, so from there, I was like, okay, I want to work in the hotel industry.
So let me ask you something, Ms. Duana, because you said a couple of things doing this. And I think it's, I say this a lot, that there are many people that are circles trying to live life in a square peg. Mm-hmm. We're trying to live life to satisfy others, to win the approval of others. I mean, we're all intuitive creatures and we want that support. We want people to like us. We want people to accept us. We are community people, so we're meant to be in community, and that means gaining the approval of others. But one of the things that I've done, and I continue to try to say, and even when I mentor young people, I've even given my 4 children, 3 of them of which are in college, I've told them that I am releasing you from my expectations.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important for people to understand. Mm-hmm. I have expectations because God has done some things in my life, but I don't want to push off my expectations up on my kids because I don't want them living their life for me. Because in doing so, it robs them out of the opportunity that God has specifically designed for them. And there are so many people right now that are living lives because of what other people think they should be doing. And what they're doing is encapsulating themselves in this bubble that will eventually pop. Mm-hmm. And when it pops, it's going to be detrimental to their emotional health, spiritual health, and even physical health. So when you say that when you got to clinical studies that you dreaded it, what was that moment that says, listen, I know what my parents expect of me. Mm-hmm. I know what these people expect of me, but this is what I want to do. That's a crossroad that many people get to. Yeah. But it takes courage to turn that curve. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Yeah. So talk to us about that moment.
For me, my mom always say I'm a different kind of child because I'm so blunt and honest. She's just like, I can't believe you just told me that. But for me, when I decided that it didn't make me happy, I knew I wasn't going to do it, regardless to how my mom or my dad felt about it. It was a matter of how I was going to tell them for me. So it's like, I don't know how I'm going to break it to her, but I'm not going back there. But for my mom, I feel like she kind of provided me the excuse because she got sick. And she knew that I was going to come running. And while I was there, and when she hit that state of depression, although she wanted me to go, because she would always tell me, go, live your life. But she knew I wasn't going to leave. She knew I wasn't going to, while she was depressed, my mom, me leave. No, never. So, she knew that in the back of her mind. So, it was just kind of like, okay, well, this is what she wanted to do. When she knew in the back of her mind, she still wanted me to be in New Orleans with her. So
now, were you the only child that was back home taking care of your mom during this time?
No. So I have a younger sister. My younger sister, she's 27 now, but at that time she was, young and she was living her life, So yeah, basically.
So now you go home and you tell them that I'm no longer going to be in this field. The sickness, as unfortunate as it was, provided you the opportunity or the lane out. Mm-hmm. So now you get into the hotel business, which is still outside of your biology degree. Mm-hmm. So now you're making your way in the hotel business. You're moving up the corporate ladder. Mm-hmm. So how do you go from that to where you currently are in your entrepreneurship with the business that you're now curating? Okay.
So I fully left the hotel industry in 2018 completely. 2018 completely. So there was this guy who was one of the biggest sales managers in the hotel industry in New Orleans. And he and his partner had a travel agency. And I never thought to be a travel agent or anything like that. But what he was doing by him being a sales manager, there were groups that call and say, hey, I'm planning a conference. I need 400 rooms for 3 nights each. And he say, okay, do you have a travel agent? They say, no, I'm just calling. So he would take that group and he would put it under his travel agency. And then he would have like his partner like start coordinating things for him with that, so that it wouldn't be a conflict of interest. You know, his partner steps in on their side, on that side, but he get 10% of everything they spend at our hotel. Our hotel had 800 rooms. We were on the corner of Canal and Bourbon Street. Our rates were no less than $3.99 per night. So I'm calculating how much he was spending. Then at some point, like I had to do a performer. I would have to do, as the assistant, I would have to do performers of how much accounting need to send off to this travel agency. This man was getting like $25,000 off taking a phone call, like planning a group, $25,000. Another group, he's getting like $50,000, and it was just like big money. And I'm like, I'm about to start me a travel agency. So I'm an assistant at this time, so I couldn't, I could have, but I didn't have the opportunity he had to take those calls from those big clients. So my job transferred me over. There was an opportunity in Houston. I was trying to get back to Houston because at that time I was just done. I was ready to get out of New Orleans. I started feeling closed in. My mom was better. I interviewed in Houston for the same brand. At the time it was Crown Plaza, and then it's Whitehall Hotel now in downtown Houston. They transferred me over to Houston, but here I went from an assistant to director of conference services and catering. This is what my boss was in New Orleans. And I was like, I'm going from an assistant to a director. I had my own department. I was 23, 24. So came here, I moved in with my uncle and, working in the field. So I was like, okay, this is the perfect time to start my travel agency. That was the beginning of one of my business that had its successes, that also had like its trials, because in that I was the only Black in that office. I was young, and I was in a room with a whole bunch of women that kind of saw me as competition or saw me as, oh, she don't know what she's doing. I've been doing this way longer than her. So they kind of hated on my travel agency. After I got me like 2 or 3 bookings in and they saw what they had to pay me, it was like, oh, you can't do that. It's a conflict of interest. So I just started like working it, on the side without doing it within, my hotel. So like that was the beginning of like my real like entrepreneurship. That was in 2014 when I moved back. But before that, I had like little boutiques, little accessories, and little things like that. And had I been more consistent with it, it probably would have been amazing. But I mean, everything works out in perfect order.
So now this is as I've been pastoring now for 22 years, from A to Z, name whatever issue, problem, concern, from the highest of the highs to the lowest of the lows. I've been in the trenches with a lot of different people in all different walks of life. And a lot of people shoot for this goal called entrepreneurship, which is a lofty and a great goal. But I often share, even before I came into ministry in the business sector at Chase Bank, everybody is not meant to be an entrepreneur, right?
Absolutely.
And I've always shared that somebody's got to cook the meals that you eat in these restaurants. Somebody's got to empty the trash. I think one of the things that we do a disservice for, Ms. Duana, is that we don't value and esteem hard work. I come from a long line of people. My grandmother never graduated high school. She was a waitress and a dishwasher, a cook for most of her life. She went on to be to glory in 2018, but she was the hardest working person that I've ever seen in my life outside of my mom. But she would always tell me, when you come home tired, it's because you've done a good job. And I think one of the things that we do a disservice on is not valuing and esteeming the art of hard work.
Yeah.
I was often told and tell people all the time that entrepreneurship is the only business that you work 80 hours a week trying not to work 40. Because the idea is that I don't want to work for anybody else. So I'm going to work for myself. But in working for myself, I got to put in a lot more hours for myself than I would in any business or corporation that I may be working in. So why was entrepreneurship the goal for you? What drove you to that particular lane as a non opposed to staying right there in the director of that hotel that you just assumed?
I feel like, one, I'm really big on manifesting. I write down things that I want to do. I write down goals. Entrepreneurship was one of them. I did not close it off to one particular thing, but it was entrepreneurship. My mom, she owned she had a convenience store in New Orleans, and she had 2 bar rooms. And then her siblings were entrepreneurs. My uncle owns a construction company and a tax office that does really well here in Houston. So I'm watching, my dad's entrepreneur, I'm watching these people make livings with working for themselves. For me, it was more so of the freedom. I would say I feel my motto is, what I tell myself is, everything works in perfect order. Those jobs that I had corporately, I was pushed out, and I took it as an attack at first, but then I had to bring it back and realize God put you in place here, and you had no business being a director of an entire department of a huge hotel chain. After just coming from being an assistant, I was an assistant for a year and 2 months. So I got there and I got that experience, the experience that I needed to get, and I faced a different set of people that I needed to face. And with that, in New Orleans, I felt like I was kind of sheltered. Everyone was like family. There were their issues, but we got through them. We were eating together at lunch. But in Houston, I would say it was my hardest time working corporately because I felt like I was dealing with so many snakes. And that was something that I wasn't used to. For me, I had to learn to keep my mouth shut to certain things. I was so used to being able to be vocal about everything. And you can be vocal about everything, but you have to know how to be vocal. And I didn't know how to be vocal with those people. So they looked at me as, she's too much, she's too sassy. Everything that I was saying, I could stand on to this day. It was facts, but it was how I delivered it. So, with that company ended up, I ended up going through a legal situation with them that I can't get into too much detail about, but it was surrounding sexual harassment there. And so yeah, and I feel like, that happened at first. I was like, I felt attacked, but like I said, I wasn't harmed, and God provided them to afford the next thing I wanted to do. So everything worked out for me in hindsight. And then after I left there, I went on to work for another brand. I started working for Hyatt for a short period of time, and then I got a better opportunity with Marriott where I was VP of operations, and that was amazing for me. That was amazing. I really liked it. But with Marriott, I ended up having a child, and postpartum hit me really hard, and I didn't realize I was in the center of postpartum until I started coming out of it. But, I had gotten down to 98 pounds. I wasn't happy. I wasn't myself. And I didn't return to work. So, and
that's a major issue, one that kind of goes under the radar. So, I want to discuss that because that's a real big issue that a lot of us don't like to deal with, especially, Duana, and this is no slight on us as a people, but African Americans do not do well with mental health, emotional stability. We quick to label somebody as crazy, and that's Uncle Joe, and everybody know how Uncle Joe is, and but we don't know the story behind why Uncle Joe acts the way that he does, because it's taboo in our culture. It really is. I often say that everybody needs Jesus, but some people need Jesus and a therapist, right? So, but we don't do very well in developing the emotional stability that I think God wants us to have. So you were coming out of postpartum, and so your child, you have a girl or boy?
I have a daughter.
You have a daughter. And so what did that look like immediately following your daughter's birth?
I feel like now I have to share my life. I felt like I couldn't travel the way I wanted to. I gained, it was like, I want to say it, and honestly, it was a sense of envy, but not like a malicious envy. My friends were continuing on with their lives, kid-free. And here I am at home, stuck with a baby, And like, I'm not a single mom. I'm not married, but her dad is very much so involved. We were engaged up until my daughter was 2. So, I just wasn't happy, all the way around, but I wasn't happy. I looked in the mirror and I saw a monkey, I wasn't there. And I developed high blood pressure after I gave birth. And so they gave me this medicine to take when I got home, and I took the tab at home, but it was a horrible reaction on my body to where when my ex-fiance came home, he found me slumped over. Like I was some junkie or something, and my baby was screaming and hollering, but my body didn't react well to this blood pressure medicine. And I never took it again. And I also never had any issues with my blood pressure since then, So I just wasn't. I wasn't in the perfect space, and I couldn't. And for me, I'm not a person that go around people. I came in here on Sundays, every Sunday, because that was my fuel for the week. It was the only fuel I was getting. But I couldn't go around people because I wasn't my best self, and I'm not a complainer. So if my vibrations are low and my energy is down, I don't want to put that on anybody else. My mom had no idea. That's how well I hid it. And me hiding it was detrimental to me too, because I wasn't really expressing myself.
Absolutely.
So, and then too, I wasn't working. So I was dependent on my fiance financially, and I wasn't happy with that either, because that's not what I was used to. And couldn't afford a therapist because you're not working and you don't have insurance anymore. And the way that I pulled myself out of postpartum, I was in postpartum for a while. And I did a vision board. And on a vision board, it was these things that, I wanted to accomplish. And I planned in August of that year, I had planned a cruise. And it was supposed to have been like a Mother's Day cruise. I planned it through my travel agency in August. And it just was slow. People were viewing it on Facebook, but nobody was booking for the cruise. So in October, I was like, I'm going to go on a fast with my vision board. I did the Daniel fast for 30 days. And I prayed. It had me an emotional wreck. But when I was feeling those emotions, I felt like those were my conversations with God. It's making me emotional right now. But it did so much for me. I had never fasted before. And one morning I woke up, and my phone was just like ding, 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 ding. It was just going crazy. And I'm looking at my phone, and it was just like, you received the payment from all of these different people. And it was like people putting down their deposit for the cruise. I had 2,000 people pay a deposit to go on the cruise. The deposit was only $25. Only 974 people ended up coming on the cruise, but that was still amazing numbers.
Yeah.
Because that other 2,000 people, that 974, the remaining from, let's say, 2,000 minus 974, what's that? Probably like 1,036, something like that. 1,026. I got $25. That's my $25 from 1,026 people, and it was a huge, but I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Now, there was a downside, not a downside, but my phone was ringing like crazy because like everybody, they have so many questions. And then on Facebook, people thought it was a scam and things like that. So like, once like even like the payments come through, like me with my travel agency, I got the cruise for probably like $200 per person. But I'm not charging $200 a person. I charge $400, $450. Right. So, even on the back end, I was seeing, it ended up being amazing. And I took that and I just started investing in the next thing that I wanted to do. And, at that time, I was leaving, my ex-fiance, and it just provided me, it came right on time. And this was in the middle of me fasting. So now I'm on a fast right now. So now when I feel myself getting the slightest bit heavy, I'm fasting. I may not do like the 30 days because I usually do Daniel fast twice a year, one at the beginning and one at the end. But I'll do like little small fasts. Like right now I'm on a fast for a week. And it gets me through. That's my therapy. I could go see a therapist now if I feel like I really need to, but I honestly feel like I have conversations. I have conversations, and in those times, I feel like I would sit in my bed and be like, okay, this is what you do. This is what I hear. This is what you do. And if I can sit here and lay out all of the miracles that has happened for me that came out of nowhere when I literally did not know where it was going to come from. Even, so I hadn't been back to work. It was like 2018, since 2018. And then, when was that? This company approached me named like Y Hotel, and it was a great company, amazing salary. Long story short, they came, I partnered up with them, made amazing money in like 3 months, and COVID came. So it's like now back to your entrepreneurship,
So like, COVID came and did a whole lot of stuff.
Back to your entrepreneurship you go. But yeah.
So I wanna segue into something that we spoke about earlier and approach it from two different points of view, if I can. One, the benefit of travel and what that has done in your life. I have been very fortunate and blessed by the God in which I serve. I've traveled to over 31 different countries all around the world.
Nice.
Led over 110 mission trips to you name it, it's there. And I say a lot of times, Ms. Duana, that my international travels has blessed me beyond measure because it has given me such a different perspective on life,
absolutely,
opportunity, people. I have friends from every single walk of life that you can possibly imagine. I've experienced not being poor in America. We're poor in America. I've seen abject poverty. Yes. And those are two completely different paradigms. And I've seen people in abject poverty be 1,000 times more happy and content with those who have all of the niceties that are provided in America and be absolutely miserable.
Yes.
So I've seen it on both sides. And one of the things that I think will help people is when they are exposed to something different than what they see every day.
Yeah.
Exposure helps you.
Yeah.
And I call it the 30,000 foot view. The best time when I love to fly, so COVID-19 has done me a real disservice because I haven't been able to get on the plane. But the best part of the plane ride for me is the takeoff and the landing.
I hate that part.
So let me tell you why. As I go up into the plane and I'm getting 10,000, 20,000 feet up in the air, I always get an a window seat. The 10,000 foot view of the city that I'm coming out of, looking down and being able to see all of the trees, the absolute manicured lawns, the highways, the 20,000 foot view gives me such a better perspective of where I am. And then when I'm coming into a country, that coming down from 30,000 to 20,000 to 10,000, and then the actual or eventual landing are some of the best moments of the flight for me. And because it gives me such a great perspective. So how has traveling enhanced your life? What's some of the places that you've been to first?
I've been to Mykonos, Greece, Athens, Greece, Santorini, Greece, Amsterdam, London. My dad is a resident of London for 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
Birmingham, England, Paris.
Now, you didn't go to Amsterdam for...
No.
Okay,
no.
just making sure.
I did try it, honestly.
I
did try it. That was my first time trying it in Amsterdam. And I was paranoid coming back.
Yeah, if you don't know what that means, just Google it. Praise God. So with that, it has given you a broader perspective.
Yes.
And has enriched you in several different ways. What specifically has traveling done for you?
It just opened my eyes to it being so much more to see. The very first place I went to was London to visit my dad, but I wasn't really experiencing it. Once I started traveling with my friends, like you said, these people had so much less than I had. They were so much more happy than I wouldn't say probably than I was at that time, because I was, in college living life and I was pretty happy, but they were happier than a lot of people, that I know that had way more than these people. And my dad is Jamaican, and he always preached to us he always preached more life, to us, and to be grateful and have no worries. So when we went to Jamaica, there was this family, they were building their house, but they were building one room at a time. And the one room that they were building, it was 400 square feet, and this was where the family lived. And then once the husband got more money, they added
Absolutely,
on.
Yeah.
And I was so amazed by that. And I wouldn't be able to live like that.
Yeah.
And so it was just, while we were there, my friends and I, we were oh, let's go over to the schools, and we had no material to give away things, but just to spend time with them, it was such a blessing. They don't know how much they did for us. So when we came back home, we were just dang, we are really so blessed. We are so blessed. These people are just, they're living day by day, and they're making it work.
Yes. So now, in this last segment, I am a father of 4. I have 3 daughters and a son. My oldest is 21. My youngest is 16. Let's see, Vinchelle is a senior at Prairie View. Markayla is a junior at Texas State. And then my son will be a freshman at Sam Houston.
Okay.
And my 3 daughters, exclusive of my son is my namesake, praise God. But my daughters, I really tried my best to pour into their lives in a very substantial way. And it's going to lead me to where you are right now as an African American woman here in these United States of America. I have made it a purpose, Ms. Duana, to make sure that all of my kids have experienced life outside of the United States.
Yes.
So I've made it a absolute intention to make sure that my children are well traveled, right? So not just going, to another state, but actually leaving the continental U.S. and going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I've made a very conscious decision to do that, me and my wife. But I've also made a conscious decision to make sure that they are the best people that they can possibly be. And just allow me just a second to segue, because this will get us to where we are. I believe that there is a cultural attack against all things Black.
Yes.
And here's what I mean by that. As I stand here in 2021, my grandmother can recall the times she was alive during Emmett Till. She can recall the times of Black water fountain, white water fountain. My grandmother actually lived through the Jim Crow era. Like she experienced this stuff. And before my grandmother went on to be with glory, to be to glory, she told me that she was extremely proud of me as being someone that was a homeowner, someone that graduated college, and have done all the things that she done. Now, remember, my grandmother never finished high school, was a maid and a dishwasher and a cook for all of her life. She never owned a home. And now if I fast forward that over to the current culture where we are right now, I believe that there's a cultural war that is being waged against Black people. Yeah. And here's why I say that. I believe that Black people are not a monolith. We are not homogenous. You can't place Black people into this one big old square and say that every Black person belongs there. But specifically to our African American women, there is a war against that.
Yeah.
The culture that is being advocated to what the Black woman should look like and what she should do, how she should hold herself, is being attacked at grave levels. Where at one point in time, the standard of the Black woman was dignity, respect, honor, family, taking care of her business, has now been relegated to, and pardon me as I say this, women that are anything less than. Yeah. You as an African-American woman, 30 years old, have been accomplished, has been accomplished in the corporate fields as well as the entrepreneurial fields. How have you waged war against that cultural paradigm against you? How have you fought back against the stereotypical Black woman? And what are you doing proactively now to fight against that stereotype?
I would say, honestly, in the entrepreneurial world, it's hard. One, I just remove myself from it. Corporately, I could leave a job, but you can't just leave a job without having something in place, to make money, to make ends meet, to live life how you want to live life. So for me, it was just, that's honestly what made me go harder with working for myself and trying my best to do what I can do for myself. In the entrepreneurial world, I've dealt with so many investors, I say with quotations, because these were people or guys that were investing not with the intention on investing because I had a good business plan. There were ulterior motives. And that was so frustrating for me because it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to come here with ragged clothes and then, no, you're not going to believe in what I have going on? But, now I just feel like, honestly speaking, these people wanted to go into business with their eyes not looking on my business plan, but looking, beneath where they should have been looking. So that area has never worked out for me. So I just found avenues to do what I needed to do on my own without having to deal with that. Because that happened to me 3 times where I run into investors. And these are people that are very successful that I met at networking events that, has invested in other businesses and businesses that are successful and things like that. And then you come to me and then it's like, you think you're going to tell me you're going to invest in my business and it's going to get you far. No. But, so yeah, there's that. So I just, with the space that I'm in now, I'm providing everything is woman, and not to discriminate against, men or anything like that, but I feel like it's my job to lift us up even more. Myself, as well as my friends, my close friends are in that same route. Like, everything we do is ran by females. Marketing is ran by females. Our, PR is all female. Sales is all female. Even my architect is a female. So, and things like that, and you don't really see many female architects, but it was just important for me to provide that avenue to say, look, we are here. We can do this, and this is where we are. And I feel like that's my contribution. I am the auntie of, I can't count how many nieces right now, but it's a lot of them. And they're all very close to me. So even with that, I'm pouring into them, and I'm pouring into other youth, teenage girls, so they could come up and really know their worth. Because if you don't have someone to lead you the way, I tell my nieces all the time, I've made the mistakes that you don't have to make. Now, if you want to make them and you want to make your own decisions, that means you telling me you want me to lift my hands and you have it all figured out. But I could tell you the way to go. So, for me, is providing opportunity, whether it's job opportunity, whether it's mentorship for my sisters to level up to where they want to be, whether it's just if they want to just learn knowledge from me, because like everyone, like you said, is not an entrepreneur. There are great workers. I myself, I don't believe I'm a great employee. I don't consider myself a boss. I feel like I'm more of a leader, because I'm going to lead wherever it is you need to go. If I know it, you're going to know it. I feel like what I'm doing to better that situation is pouring into the youth so that they be in a place mentally and physically to grow, and providing opportunity for them as well where I can.
Now, that will take us to this, because I greatly appreciate that. And, as I'm looking and I've heard about your story, it is something that resonates deeply within me, because this is a mountain that I will go to glory on. I believe in fighting for this, because I believe that right now Black America is the pawn that is being used to advance every other people group except us. And considering the rich history, the shoulders of the giants that we stood on, and how our forefathers, our foremothers went through absolute hell on earth, for us to be here in 2021 and not to honor their legacy by doing better. My ceiling is going to be my children's floor. So wherever I top out, that's where you launch from. Right. And I believe that our previous generations demand that of us, Sister Duana. I believe that we are sitting here at this table in the freedoms that we enjoy here in America and the opportunities that we enjoy here in America to do something with the struggle that the soil has been laden with. Yeah. Okay, so the things in which we're doing right now, we owe a debt, a major debt, to those who have gone before us. And even as our African-American men, our African-American women, and I don't want to specify that or, to isolate any other culture. Right. I'm just talking about the culture that we're currently in right now. You are a perfect example of someone that has, life has dealt you a set of hands, and you've decided that this is what I'm going to play. Right. And I believe when you get to the place to where you can say, okay, this is what I got, what do I do with it? Okay, life is not fair. Right. Amen. Thank God it's not fair. But what do I do with this opportunity? Right. Because nobody owes you anything.
Yeah.
And you on the other side of that table as a successful 30-year-old African-American woman that has gone through her own challenges, have done what you needed to do to get to the place to where you are. You are a shining example of what a person can do when they put their mind to doing something.
Yes.
So what I would like you to do is a couple of things before we end this segment. One is I want you to look there in that camera, and there is, as I told you before we got on off-air camera, we have generation teenager all the way to 60, 70, everybody in between. But I believe that we can speak into people's lives because they can see us and then find something from our lives that will encourage them in theirs. So I want you to look into that camera, and I want you to encourage that person that may be watching, may be listening, about what they can do to move their lives forward.
I would say your affirmations. Start to believe in yourself. Look in the mirror every day and tell yourself that you are beautiful. Tell yourself that you are intelligent. Tell yourself that you are worthy. And start the process of loving yourself. When you love yourself, you have that confidence to go out into the world. Have the audacity. Have the audacity to go be great. Have the audacity to step out on faith and really believe in what you are doing, what you are wanting to do. Write down your goals. When you write down them and you look at them every day, it gives you a sense of obligation to where you feel like, okay, what am I going to do to work on that? Have the confidence in yourself and like really just go hard for yourself. Go hard for yourself. No one is going to go hard for you. Most of all, keep God into place. There are going to be some obstacles that are going to get in your way, but the serenity prayer is something that gets me through a lot of little small situations. Like you have to let go of the things that you can't control, that it's not for you to do. So yeah, and with that, everything will work out in its perfect order. Everything works out in a perfect order.
So now, Miss Duana, now you say it's Gillard.
Gillard.
Now, is that just the way that Louisiana's?
Maybe.
I mean,
but people say Gillard, and I'm just like, okay, yeah.
Okay, but I want to pronounce it. Okay, so it's Gillard. Okay, so now I want you to tell us a little bit about this venture that you have. It's Demis World. Now, Demi is
my daughter.
I figured as much. Okay, so let's talk about It's Demis World, and then the ice cream playhouse that you are getting ready to open. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so Demis World started. We were in Walmart. My baby wanted a doll, and she's 4. She'll be 5 next month. But at 2 years old, going on 2 years old, excuse me, if she was here right now, she could have this conversation with you. She's very advanced. So we're in Walmart, and Mommy, I don't like any of these. She didn't like any doll that we were in Walmart. So I'm like, okay, I'll go and I'll find one on Amazon. I'll find a little black baby doll on Amazon. So when I was looking for dolls, like the American dolls will pop up, but I was like, I am not spending $100 on a naked doll and then spending $50 more on accessories and, whatever. So it was this ad on the side that kept coming up saying, customize the doll. So I click on it to see, and like my baby have like this curly hair, and I was able to put the curly hair on the doll. I was able to do a dark complexion. My baby is very chocolate. I was able to do the complexion. She has these really big brown eyes, and I was able to put that on the doll. So the doll resembles my daughter. When it came in, it took forever. So I actually forgot that I ordered the doll. It took about 3 weeks to come in. And when I got it, I was like, this doll is beautiful. Demi, she's playing with the doll, and I'm like, I'm going to sell those dolls. Like, I'm going to sell those dolls. Like, I can go into production and make these dolls. So I contact the company, and they transfer me over to the manufacturer in China. And I was like, well, do you guys make customized boxes too? She was like, yeah, we can do for you. And we put the boxes together. She sent me like a 3D sample. She sent me like one sample of the box after I approved the 3D sample online. And I was just like, this is amazing. And on the box, she had "It's Demis World" written all over it. So I was like, oh yeah, nobody is doing this. This is a lane of my own. This is something that was inspired by my baby. We gonna go for it. So we launched it all in September of, was it 2019? No, February. We launched it in February of 2019. We partnered with Walmart September of 2019. And yeah, so like as soon as it went like on social media, everybody like went crazy for this doll. And we sold like 1,200 dolls, but I only had 300. So that was actually by mistake because I never selected, I didn't select to where to stop it when there's back orders. So it told them that it was on back order, but, you know, people were still ordering. I'm like, I need 900 more dolls. And it was coming from China, so it was the shipping was expensive. So I would do the buy C option because that saved a whole lot of money, and it made my margins good. So I had to like order all of these dolls, and people waited for like a month, and I was so scared that I was going to get like these bad reviews. And I'm like, I'm just started and I'm going to get like all of these bad reviews. But like people were so understanding and they were so patient, in which I was surprised by because I've seen where, you know, the black business get attacked the easiest. Yeah. So yeah, that was that. And like we had like this wasn't a complete, you know, success story. We had our ups and downs because after that, it was kind of like, all right, now you got your buzz. But then, you know, that next month it was like no sales, you know, then like literally no sales. And then, you know, then the holiday time came up, the month of December. Then, you know, sales went back up. It was great. And then you have the down months again where it's low. And then I was on Amazon, and Amazon reached out to tell me, because originally I was just paying a monthly fee and like a little small fee, you know, to sell however many copies I wanted on there. And then Amazon tells me, basically they want 50% of my sales. And I'm just like, nah, that doesn't make sense for me. Because if you get 50%, then I get the other 50%, but that's not much of a profit for me. I still have to buy the doll. I still have to buy the box. I still have to pay for the shipping. I'm only getting like $5. Like, no. So we parted ways with Amazon, still partnering with Walmart, but I feel like with Walmart too, I don't know why, but Demi's dog will never be it was on the first page, maybe like a week or so when I first got with them. So, you know, now there are other black dolls by big companies. So they would go with them first.
Why you didn't take that to Shark Tank?
You know, if my mom hear this, she'll be like, I told you. But she sits and watches Shark Tank like all the time. But yeah, I should have. I didn't. And it's not too late. But with that, I was just like, okay, I need to do something that adds on to Demis World, because with Demis World, I wanted to provide not only just my baby, but other brown girls, provide something for them to look to, for something to identify with. You see a doll with kinky curly hair, you wasn't seeing that. I mean, now they have it, but when I did Demis World, it wasn't many of them. Even the American doll, it was just like, you know.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
You know, so it was just like, oh, there was the Kenya doll. But yeah, so I went and me and my daughter, we wrote a book. And this book that we wrote are the affirmations that I make her say every morning. And in that, it's just like more words of encouragement. The book is called Hey Brown Girl. And it's available through It's Demis World as well. But that's on Amazon and BarnesandNobles.com.
So that's Demis World. Now you have another venture called Ice Cream Playhouse.
Yes.
An indoor play center for toddlers to teens. Okay, so tell us a little bit about this Ice Cream Playhouse.
So the Playhouse has been in the works or planning. I wasn't really planning. It was kind of like, I want to do something like this, and I want to name it Ice Cream Playhouse. So like every now and then I will like go back and like add something to it. But I knew it'll be a very expensive business venture. So it was something that I was waiting, that I kept putting off because I knew it was going to be expensive. In that, there was a coffee shop. I'm still going to open my coffee shop, but the plan was to open a coffee shop first. I went looking at this building, and the building for the coffee shop, and the lady showed me the building that was next door. And when I walked in the building, it was a church, and the church was formerly a body of faith. And I walked in, and I was like, oh, this is a nice building, but, you know, it was too big for a coffee shop. It was 4,400 square feet. And when I walked in the center of it, there was a dome, and the dome looked like an ice cream cone. And my family and friends called me Duana for short. And when I walked in one of the rooms, on the wall, it says Duana ... grow. So I was like, they talking to me, So I'm just like, okay. And I asked, I was like, well, out of curiosity, like, I think this is too big, but how much, does the landlord want for this? And so she told me. And then each room that I had planned, that I had written down for the Playhouse, the building was already broken off into these rooms. So it was like, I guess it was the sanctuary in the center, a stage, and then there was a breakout room here, a opening area here, breakout room. And I was like, oh, okay, like I wanted to do different rooms with like different activities, and then for that back part, I wanted to do a diner, which the church was using for a sound area. So their U-shaped bar counter they were using for a sound area, I wanted to use for like a diner. It was just like already just set up in place. The only thing that it didn't have that I had to build out in there was like a little employee office, in which probably one of those rooms was like an employee office. But so yeah, I was just like, okay, I'll take it. I'll get it. I was like, let me have like contractors come, and they let me come take measurements. They let me do all of this before I went into lease, to be sure that, I could do any of this. And it was just getting more and more expensive. And I was just like, okay, if that building's still available, then I'm going to do that. But I'm going to still do the coffee shop first. The building that I want for the coffee shop is still waiting on me. The owner's he's just a little stubborn right now. But it's over on Alameda and it's over by the Turkey Leg Hut.
Oh yeah,
Alameda and Benz.
Oh yeah.
So it's I wanted the coffee shop to be over there because it was just like that's like a long street of successful Black-owned businesses, and there's no coffee shop over there, the type of coffee shop that I want to open. So that owner, he wasn't budging in time, and time was passing, and it was like, okay, I'm not doing either of these. So I called the lady back, and I was like, I'll take, the building. The owner, he talked to me one time. He didn't run credit check. He was just like, your reputation precedes you. Now, where this reputation he speak of, I don't know where, like, who he could have talked to, but that goes to show, like, your name do be mentioned in rooms, because this is like an Asian man, and they stick within their community.
Absolutely.
So, he didn't do no credit check, no background check, and he was just like, you can just provide me your bank statements and then a check for this, and it's yours. And that was that. So I'm like, okay, the most expensive project that I was trying to put off is the first project that I'm starting with. But with the Ice Cream Playhouse, it is surrounding everything ice cream, indoor event center. One of the rooms is a spa for girls, and I want to start normalizing Black girls in luxury. I want them to be able to come in and start young, because I start my baby young. Like, my baby had her passport at 6 months. And so I may not be able to take all of these kids out the country to experience and do whatever, but, you know, I can do grand things locally. So, you know, that spa, they come in and they get their pedicures, they get their nails polished, and there's a little vanity area where, you know, they play in clothes, have their little robe, and just experience luxury for a moment. And then we have another room. It's 3D NASA themed. It's our gaming room, which will be enjoyed by the boys. PS5, Xbox, Wii, virtual reality. And then another room, we have our ball pit room, and it is a star-shaped ball pit. And then one of the other breakout rooms is the ice cream museum itself. So it's like these large ice cream statues, and we have like ice cream swings, and it's really more for the aesthetic. And then in the center area, we have our crescent benches that's made like ice cream sandwiches. And in the center of the crescent benches is our toddler area with the padded flooring and their little activities for the tots. Our diner in the back is a 50 style diner. It's 50 style diner themed. And we'll be making ice cream. So the ice cream won't be like soft serve off the machine. You're gonna make it. You can make your own ice cream in front of you, and, you know, you have it and enjoy it. Then we have like little juices that we're going to serve on, dry ice for the aesthetic. You know, things that are different, you know, that they'll really like. We have like our TikTok area that we probably won't be able to keep all of the kids from.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
what they love,
yeah,
Lord Jesus. Well, let me tell you, I am extremely proud of you, and I don't say that lightly. I like to see people doing well. My grandma used to always say, when somebody's being blessed, you know that God is in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Right. So learn to celebrate success. Learn to be happy for other people, because God is in the blessing business. So I want to say congratulations to you. You've done a wonderful job. And we pronounce God's blessings upon you, your daughter Demi, and your future business endeavors. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to see.
Thank you.
That, and this is not exclusive or not. This is normal. Okay, this is normal for us to do big and great things.
Yes.
So congratulations. Many, many multiplied blessings for you. I got a couple of people in the studio that'll work for you at them ice cream shops. Deke over there will do the TikTok for you. But on a serious note, really, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on everything that you've overcome. And at 30 years old, I can just imagine what the next 10 years is going to look like, the next 10, 20, and 30 years of what God's going to do in your life.
Yes.
The future's very bright for you, young lady.
Thank you.
Very, very bright for you. I want to thank you guys for joining us here on the set of Studio B. Remember, wherever you're watching us from, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you like, follow, subscribe, comment, share so that you don't miss anything going on the set of Studio B. And remember, coming up in August, we will be doing our Thursday Live. And remember, we're almost at 7,000 subscribers. We need you to get us to 10 before the end of the summer. Be informed, be empowered. Studio B.